Hey everyone, this is Amit, and welcome to this podcast called Random Cricket Photos That Make My Guests Happy. A podcast where we are going to hear a number of special guests talk about some really special photographs from cricket, photographs that are memorable to them, that are their favorites, and that make them happy. But before we begin our episode, let me talk about one photo from my side.
The pitch today looks very good. It's a nice dry wicket.
Magnificent shot, Greg Chappell. Beautiful placement.
Jeez, what about that? Listen to the crowd now. They're into him.
He's not happy. He's not at all happy.
You would not believe that that was possible.
Should be caught, could be caught. It's
This is a picture from the Jubilee Test of 1980 played in Mumbai. It's not a close-up picture and have quite a few men in the frame, but the important people are standing right behind the wicket in the picture. So one of them is the batsman Bob Taylor and the other is the Indian captain G.R. Vishwanath. Now in this picture, Vishwanath can be seen hunched over, listening keenly to something that Taylor is telling. So what was that something? That something was actually an answer to a question that Vishwanath himself had posed. The question was whether Taylor had edged the ball to which he had been given out by the umpire or not. Now Bob Taylor claimed that he had not. And Vishwanath, being the modest gentleman that he was, withdrew the appeal that he himself wasn't too confident of and went on to reinstate Bob Taylor to the pitch. Now, Ian Botham's heroics with both the bat and the ball meant that India lost the test comprehensively, but Vishwanath, with his kind gesture, won global respect and a lot of hearts. And that's what makes this photo a rather special one for me. One more episode of Random Cricket Photos That Make My Guests Happy, and one more very special guest today. Someone who has been in the business of writing about the game and its many wonderful characters for close to 40 years. That's right, the man who joins us today on the podcast is Mr. Vijay Lokapalli, a man whose articles in The Hindu have been enjoyed by not just me, but even my father and his friends. So, welcome to the podcast, Vijay sir, and a big thank you first of all on behalf of the cricket-loving community for enriching the game with your writings.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you very much for having me on the show. And what a wonderful introduction that even your father has read my reports. I'm very, very thrilled.
Yes, sir, and we've both loved it. So, before anything, sir, I have this very simple question to ask. One that I'm really curious about. I mean, cricketers, no matter how big or great, on an average begin and end their careers in a span of say 15 to 20 years, the best ones in fact. You on the other hand have been writing the game for 4 decades, I believe. So what keeps one going for so long in your profession? I mean, does the game bring so much joy to you even now as it used to do in say 1986 when you began to write for the Hindu, or in the 90s?
Yes, Amit, I think essentially it has to be the passion for sports and especially cricket. Everybody wants to write on cricket. Everybody wants to watch cricket. Everyone wants to discuss cricket in our cricket crazy country. So essentially for me, it is the passion and the fact that it keeps me, I want to be involved because I've seen the trends changing in the game, from what it was when we were playing, when I remember as a 6, 7, 8-year-old playing cricket in the neighborhood, and then watching others play, college games and club games, and then learning from them. And over a period of time, I fell in love with the sport. There are many, many reasons, but essentially it helps me. I love keeping in touch with the game, and also the fact that it brings me in touch with the younger generation. When I sit with them in the press box, I learn so much from them also. I mean, the way they follow cricket, they watch cricket, their perspective, they have a fantastic perspective about the game. The reading of the game is amazing because they get to watch it on television. There is so much of analysis. So for me, what keeps me going is the fact that I love meeting people. I love making new friends, and cricket gives me the platform it has given me the platform to increase my horizon about sport, how to understand the sport, reading the game. And yes, like I said, I have many friends in the fraternity, either journalists or cricketers.
I'm so glad that's how it is, because we can see that joy in your writings even now. So, as a cricket lover, of course, I genuinely hope that, that it never dims the passion that you keep for the game. Alright then, now we begin on what we do in this podcast, which is asking our special guests about 5 photographs that they find special, that make them happy. And considering your long association with cricket, I'm really looking forward to that list. But let me ask you, was it a difficult exercise for you to pick just 5 photographs from so many years of following the game?
Believe me, I'm telling you the truth. I did not really have to think a lot, because there are some iconic pictures and there may be some which I may have not mentioned here, but these 5 came to my mind readily. So it has come from reading. It has come from something which has left a deep imprint on my mind from the time I've been following the game. And also, like I said, yes, these pictures are there. I can talk about them for hours. I can relate myself to some of them because I was there.
Okay then, toss done, hands shaken and guard taken. Now let the show begin. So which picture would you like to talk about first, Vijay sir?
I think I would like to talk about the 1992 Jaunty Rhodes picture. Jaunty Rhodes running out in Zamam, taken by V.V. Krishnan. Amazing picture by an amazing photographer. I mean, I've seen a few, but nobody as dedicated, as disciplined as V.V. Krishnan, because he had a fantastic cricket sense. I often relied on his cricket reading. He would give me tips before the game. Look, Vijay, this is likely to happen. Keep an eye on this guy. Keep an eye on that bowler. So this picture by V.V. Krishnan, this was his first World Cup, and I was supposed to go with him, but whatever reasons I could not. I remember when he went, he was so thrilled. He was also, third year into international travel. 89 he had gone to Pakistan. And 1990, he had traveled to England, New Zealand with the Indian team. Then 91, 92, we traveled together to Sharjah, South Africa. And then this World Cup. And this amazing picture. It's sometimes you may say luck, but I think he was very beautifully positioned. Just imagine, Amit, he was waiting for a moment to click, and I can share one thing, he was extra alert because Inzamam was at the crease. So he always knew that he might end up with a run-out picture. So, and here it happened. He captured Jaunty Rhodes flying, and the world knows what the end product was. And he much later, Wisden featured that photograph in one of its editions and gave a raving review for V.V. Krishnan's work.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Or is it Superman? Yeah, that was the headline that the photo came out with the next morning, I believe, and couldn't have been a more apt headline. And I believe that's so important for a cricket photographer to have sense of the game, as you said about Mr. Krishnan. And you have that instinct of who might be coming up with something special in the game. And I believe, as you said, that he must have seen it coming, because not only because Inzamam was batting, but also because Jaunty Rhodes was prowling around. And Jaunty Rhodes, even before the World Cup, Mike Proctor had told that Jaunty Rhodes is someone special and someone to watch out for. And Krishnan sir captured the moment so wonderfully well.
Absolutely. And like you said, he had a fantastic reading of the game. There were times he would say 225 to win, and he would tell me, Vijay, match gaya. I was wondering, how gaya, only 225 Indian age to make. And then he would 9 times out of 10, he would be right with his, I won't say prediction, it was his cricket reading.
Another interesting thing about this particular photograph is that Jaunty Rhodes, in one of his interviews, I guess it was to The Hindu in fact, he said that he doesn't even consider it the greatest moment of his career. I mean, for all of his fans and for all cricket lovers, it is the Jaunty Rhodes moment, the career-defining moment of that brilliant cricketer. But he says that it would have been great if that moment had come in a World Cup final or something. That would have made it really special. But he also did acknowledge feeling great that the photo was used to garner support for the anti-apartheid referendum, something, that was happening just a couple of days before the semi-final in which South Africa lost to England. So a banner by those asking people to vote against apartheid had this image of Jonty Rhodes with the caption that said, "Keep Jonty flying." So if people in South Africa had voted for the apartheid, Jonty would have come down crashing to the ground, and he, like his predecessors, would have gone back to the isolation. So it's amazing how a photograph can have so many connotations and have such a larger influence even on the political scenario of the country.
I remember there was so much of talk about whether South Africa will come, and if they come, whether they will play, how long they will play, because there's a referendum thing going on. And the players were very keen to join the mainstream because they had lost so many glorious years due to the apartheid sanctions. And they had a wonderful team, and the world cricket needed them. Their presence, if you remember, it lit up the 1992 World Cup. We all know how they went out of the tournament. So for Jonty to feel that he would have been happy if that moment had come in the final, fair enough. But it was the moment of that World Cup.
So one picture done. What goes in next in the list?
Well, I think I would love to talk about Tiger Pataudi standing in the balcony, and what an iconic picture. It probably was at Hove, because you can see the seaside and the long road below the balcony. Yes, it's not a cricket picture. He's just standing there in the balcony, and what a handsome man. So this was just I was told a few months before he went to the West Indies, and we all know what happened there. 21-year-old Mansoor Ali Khan was asked to lead the team. Hardly 7-8 months after the accident at Hove, which damaged his right eye. But I mean, just imagine, within months he was playing for India, and he had 100. He hit a test 100 with one eye. Went to the West Indies, had to lead the team at Bridgetown under very, very unfortunate circumstances. When Nari contractor was the team lost a contractor to that bouncer from Charlie Griffith, and it was a very, very difficult time for the team itself, and of course Pataudi, because he was obviously a newcomer, only playing his 4th test match and leading the team, and there he was walking out to toss with somebody like Sir Frank Worrell, one of the greatest brand ambassadors for the game of cricket has known. It was the beginning of a fantastic career of a man who brought Indianness to the dressing room, who taught the team to win, and most important, he stood up for the players. He was a Nawab, yes, but on the field he was as good as any other cricketer, as humble as any other cricketer. He would travel by train with the players, even though he could have taken a flight. He loved it. And he enjoyed company of the cricketers more than anyone else. I've spoken to so many of his contemporaries. They only have nice words for Tiger Pataudi. And as an example, I'll give you Anshuman Gaikwad. Many years after he had stopped playing cricket, so he and Tiger Pataudi and Sandeep Patil, they were going on a cruise somewhere in Switzerland. So Anshuman Gaikwad had to smoke, and he excused himself. And even at that age, he was past 50. He would not smoke in front of Tiger Pataudi because he was his captain. He had that aura. Tiger Pataudi would command that respect. It is not that he didn't want his juniors to smoke in front of me, but look at the respect. That was the personality of Tiger Pataudi.
And yeah, talking about the aura, you can see the aura exactly in this picture. When I look at this picture, I'm reminded of this incident that Ian Chappell often narrates about Pataudi, where he asked the man once, what does he do for a living beyond playing cricket? And Pataudi replied that he's a prince, which was stating a fact. And not too familiar with, the concept of kings and princes, Chappell poked him again and asked him, what does he do from 9 to 5? And at that point, Pataudi lost it and said, I am a bloody prince. So this photo that you have chosen, it has got that princely charm to it. Not arrogance, but charm. A charm that, he kept as long as he was alive. So one of my favorite photos of Mansoor Ali Khan Pataudi as well.
Yeah. And Amit, I was extremely, extremely fortunate that I could interact with him on so many occasions during my career. And I remember when I had begun my career with Patriot newspaper, the sports editor said, do something for me to impress the editor so that you can get a job. I said, let me try, sir. I'll try and get Tiger Pataudi's interview, my childhood hero. He says, no way you'll get to speak to him. And, Amit, I went to his house at bungalow at Dupley Road in Delhi. I was hardly a year into the profession. Nobody knew me also. I just sent in a word. I was called inside. Then I told him, sir, I'm just beginning my career. If I get an interview with you, it might help me. And you know what, Amit? He gave me an interview which was displayed, a full page display I got in the newspaper along with a colleague of mine, late Pradyot Lal. We had done the interview together. I mean, just imagine, he didn't know me. He just wanted to help a young person, just like Bishan Bedi did when I was just beginning in my career, with a nice little note which I have kept, and that has been the inspiration for me. That little note from Mr. Bedi, that I've done a good job and I have a future in this profession. So for me, that interview of Tiger Pataudi is one landmark, I should say, achievement for me. I tell you, he was one of the most charming personalities I have met in my cricket career.
A Prince Charming that actually lived, not from the stories.
Yes, he was one of the finest captains, one of the finest cricketers. And that picture, I'm so happy, Amit, that you also share my view that it is one of the most iconic pictures of an Indian cricketer. Third would be Ravi Shastri and Maninder Singh standing in the middle of the ground and wondering what happens, because umpire has ruled Maninder Singh out and they just can't believe it. And for many, many years, many occasions, I have chatted on that one particular day in cricket with Maninder and Ravi Shastri, who later on became very good friends, and they still can't believe that the umpire could give Maninder leg before. Maninder says he nicked it. Ravi Shastri says he heard the nick, but Vikram Raju was kind of, he also wanted to find a place in the history. So he decided Maninder was a leg before, and so that's how we had the second tight test in history of cricket.
1986 Madras.
Yes, 1986 Madras, and what a match! I mean, people all talk about the double 100 by Dean Jones, 210, but they don't talk about the 122 by David Boone. It was equally skillful. I mean, a fantastic knock it was. Showed the way, and then the 100 by Kapil Dev,
Counter-attacking.
Brilliant 100, counter-attacking, yes. And what an innings it was. I mean, he played almost every shot. And what authority. You have people will always talk about Kapil Dev's bowling, but that was one innings that will stand out among top 10 innings played by an Indian in a test match. There was so much in that test match. I mean, there was so much. Players were battling heat, players were battling, as they say, battle of attrition, because each team was trying to put the other team down. There was so much of tactical battle. Alan Border on one side, Kapil Dev on one side. You had Sunil Gavaskar. I mean, India also had Gavaskar and Mohinder Ramanathan. What a batting lineup they had. Srikanth at the top, throwing his bat at every ball. I think that match had everything a test match should have.
And a lot of characters as well. When you look at it, Dean Jones, his image of sitting out there completely exhausted, and Kapil Dev playing one of his iconic knocks, which I think it gets a little overshadowed by his dismissal in the fourth innings. And then there was Greg Matthews, bowling with his cap and jumper. And I particularly love his expression in this photograph. His hands are stretched out, and it's of a man who has just achieved something great. So you can see that. And in fact, Ray Bright apparently bowled despite being in a terrible state of health and, took those 5 wickets in the final innings. So it's clearly a big treasure trove of memories for any cricket lover.
Amit, if you remember, the score at the end of the fourth day was, as I've noted, 170 for 5, right?
Yes.
So, very little crowd. I mean, Chepauk was not even half full, less than that, because people thought it was going to be a dull draw since one day left, and the heat kept people away, But the match became alive only and only because of Alan Border's declaration.
Sporting
He declared at
declarations.
that overnight score, yeah. And I went 348 to win for India. And somewhere I remember reading an interview where he said that, look, if India was to get those runs, then they deserve to win. 348 is a good target to defend for any attack.
And that too on the fifth day of a test match, and in conditions like those, to even get to 348 is a brilliant effort.
Absolutely. And if you see, there was not one moment of, what should I say, boredom. I mean, that last day, if you, as I've noted, just for your reference for our talk, 94 for 1 at lunch, Srikanth gone. Mohinder gets a half century in the second innings, 193 for 2 at tea. Even there, Amit, they needed from 30 overs 155.
I'm not too sure how many teams would have gone for it even now.
Oh yes. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, so many years ago, they decided to go for the runs. And last 5 overs, India had to get 18, which was nothing in today's times. 18 of 30 balls would be achieved in 18 of 15 balls,
Totally.
India would have won the match with 15 balls to spare, but Kapil got out. Kapil getting out was a blow. Shivlal Yadav hit a 6, and of Greg Matthews, I remember. And I remember reading, only 4 runs of 9 balls were left. So that was, what a match it was. And then the second, how Maninder Singh defended 2 balls from Ray Bright, and then Greg Matthews, 40 overs unchanged.
And bowling in a jumper and a cap on.
Absolutely. With a cap on, we were also wondering what kind of a character has come to play Test cricket. But he swung the game. And so many places it has been recorded, fifth day, Chepauk, 5:18 p.m. He bowled that ball which created that iconic finish and that great picture where, so many players are there in the frame. You can see the shock on Maninder's face. You can see the shock on Ravi Shastri's face. And then the delight of the Australians and crazy Greg Matthews. He was jumping around like as if he has scaled the moon, and he had with his bowling. For a spinner to shackle the Indians, that itself is no mean achievement.
Definitely.
So I think that was one great match. We can relive any number of times.
Iconic moment, iconic test, and iconic photograph that captures all the excitement that the test stands for, even today.
Let us talk about the 1999 semi-final tie match. I was covering that match, Amit. It was one of the most thrilling experiences, one of the most nerve-wracking experiences of my career. Imagine you are running against time and the match was swinging. There were so many twists and turns in that match. And for me, the challenge was, it was a semi-final of a World Cup. So I knew I had to be at my best. But here, I was not able to sort of control my nerves. I kept thinking of different intros to my report. And I will share with you one the thing those. We had a laptop, so I had 2 screens, one for South Africa win, one for Australia win.
With a match like that, you can't really know where it is going to swing, in which direction it is going to swing.
Absolutely. So I had to keep 2 reports ready. So I was typing simultaneously, changing simultaneously. Imagine, it's not a question of how you read the game, because I saw many seasoned writers, some of them seniors, who were sitting there in the press box cursing each other, cursing cricketers on the field for making them rewrite the copy, change the report. Like I said, changing intros. But I was able to settle down and accept the fact that I will have to keep 2 reports ready. And as the match progressed, even those 2 reports, believe me, it became a nightmare for me. And not for me,
but all the
everybody in the
journalists.
press box. Everybody in the press box was, and when that happened, they all heaved a sigh of relief. And after sending the report, some of us, including the Australian journalists, we went out and had a drink just to, celebrate the fact that we had become part of history. And it was a wonderful day of cricket. And as it is, if you remember, it was a low-scoring match.
Absolutely.
Australia,
213.
213 was all they had to defend, and they defended. How they defended, the wicket of Callis was a turning point. 20 Rhodes getting out was crucial. Then, of course, Klusner remaining stranded at the other end. So it was, again, one of the iconic images of the game. Run out, Alan Donald getting run out, and the Australians in the air, and Klusner dejected, and Alan Donald wouldn't know. It took a long time for him to recover from whatever had happened. It was one great day, which I'm sure not just me, not even the participants, those who watched the game at the ground, will never ever forget. Yes, like you say, I love tight finishes, but this was very different because I had to write about it, and I was able to land my report on time. That was the biggest achievement for me. Whether I captured the mood, whether I captured the suspense, whether I could write a good copy, did not matter, because my report landed in time to go for the paper to accommodate that night itself.
Very interestingly, this photograph itself, Patrick Agar, who took this photograph, he himself is not one of the greatest fans of it. He said that he had to take it through a remote camera and he was not satisfied with what came out. But even then, it captures so much. The joy of Australians and the heartbreak of Lance Klusner stranded out there. And Alan Donald, of course, he must have gone through, no one can even imagine what all things after that moment.
True. You're absolutely right. He took it with a remote camera, and also the fact that it would have captured so many images, frames. But to me, or for anyone who just picks up the paper or picks up a magazine and sees that picture, that is the image of the tournament. If you ask me, Australia went on to win the final, but that image will always remain etched for me because it tested my journalistic skills.
4 images done, and this has to be something really special, numero uno spot. So which one is it?
It will be Sunil Gavaskar's 10,000th run. We all know who was the first to land on the moon and who scaled Everest first. And there will be many more who have come and achieved the feat later, but you always remember the first man. And I think no one deserved the 10,000 run mark more than Gavaskar, who to me is the greatest batsman the game has seen, not because he's an Indian, not because I know him. He's such a wonderful human being, such a helpful human being, and because he has brought us joy. He brought dignity to the game. And that moment, he had that burden, I'll tell you later, how he was able to come out of it. It was a big relief. He said that it was a huge relief for him to have scored the 10,000th run, because wherever he would go, people would talk about 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. So he was losing sleep. He himself was very, very keen to get over it, to get to the mark. So one can understand why it meant so much for him. And Amit, if you look at his record, it was his second last test match.
Yes.
He played only one test after that, said thank you very much. And I don't think he would, if he had failed that day and if he had failed the next day, I don't think he would have carried on, because he was not the man who would have dragged himself. We all were happy for him that he got it. He got that mark at Ahmedabad. A great day for Indian cricket that was, because if you remember the preceding test, Amit, at Jaipur,
Yes.
he was out first ball.
Yeah.
He was out first ball. So I remember going to Jaipur with a photographer colleague who had come all the way, D. Krishnan, from Chennai to take a picture of Gavaskar's 10,000th run. And he imagined the plight of D. Krishnan. Gavaskar was out the first ball. So there was no question of he hanging
Getting
on.
that
So
elusive picture.
Yes, elusive. So again, of course, Gavaskar got out for 24 in the second. He didn't reach the mark. That's what I'm trying to say. So D. Krishnan travelled to Ahmedabad, and there, of course, that great image of Gavaskar taking off for that single, and you can see he is not looking. He plays the ball and takes off, and he's already in the celebratory mode. He is just wanting to finish that single. He comes back for the second run, and you can see his joy. That was the first time I saw him so excited on the field. Many years later, I remember asking him, he says, it was just the load on his chest, to and reach the 10,000th mark, because of so many people asking him everywhere get the 10,000th run. So once he got it, he was so mighty relieved. So that to me is, it defines Gavaskar, the batsman. It defines Gavaskar, the humble person, because he shared that stage, that achievement with everyone, tapping the ball past slip of Ijaz Faki. And Ijaz Faki was also very happy that he also became part of history.
What a way to become a part of history.
Yes. He says, he said later that whenever they talk of it, they'll always say that he scored those runs off me.
Great. This was, as expected, sir, a thoroughly enjoyable journey, I would say. And for once, I would say I feel a little bad that I had to restrict you to just 5 photographs. But what a fantastic list of photographs! And I don't only feel bad; I feel a little greedy now, because more photographs might have gotten me more stories out of you. So I'm definitely greedy. Coming to stories, one man whose story you have written about is Indian skipper Virat Kohli in your book Driven, and. That's why before I let you go, I have one more request from you. You've seen the man from very close quarters, from a very early point in his career. So, as someone who has written a book on him, I would ask you about, one Virat Kohli moment which is not captured in photograph, but that's special to you. And, I know that it's difficult, because Virat Kohli being Virat Kohli, he remains surrounded by cameras all the time. But still, I would love to hear from you on that.
That is one moment which was not captured, and there was not the occasion for anyone to pull out a camera and take a picture in the Delhi dressing room at the Firozshah Kotla when he had come to bat, and he had lost his father, but he had to come to the ground because Delhi was facing the threat of following on against Karnataka. His family wanted him to go and play. His coach was not in Delhi, so he spoke to the coach. Coach also told him to go and continue his innings. And I mean, for somebody who was not even 19 to do that, it spoke of his passion for the sport, his maturity, his commitment to the team and to the game. He could have easily stayed away. And I remember, as was my habit, going to the ground much before the game would begin, I saw this boy sitting there. So I was wondering why. I had no idea about what had happened. And then after a while, Mithun Manas walked in, and then he came to where I was standing, and he said, see, this is what has happened, and this boy wants to bat. So I just kept quiet. I mean, what could I say? I was just a journalist. And then Chetan Chauhan, manager, he came. And then we realized the
Graveness of the
enormity.
situation.
Yeah, and also this boy. I mean, he was doing something which was unthinkable. His father's body was lying in the house, and here he was continuing his innings. He came. He helped Delhi avoid the follow-on. He should have got 100, but a bad decision cost him. So he broke down twice that day. Once when he remembered that he could not get his 100. Two, obviously, I mean, he had lost his best friend, his father, his guide, mentor. His father was the one who had sacrificed a lot to ensure that his son played cricket. And go to the dressing room, because I went into the dressing room after the game. He was there and he looked up. I could see his moist eyes. I can never forget it, because I remember some of the Karnataka players saying, would it be appropriate? I said, you should go and meet. And I went a little before the Karnataka team had come into the Delhi dressing room. I just put my hands on his head, and what could I do? I just blessed him. I just patted him, and I was feeling miserable because the whole Delhi team was just sitting there, such a somber atmosphere. Everybody sad, and when the Karnataka team came, they went up to him, and he just sat there. They all patted him. I came out with them, but that is one moment. It needed no camera for anyone to capture. Everyone who met him would remember, and that image of Virat sitting on a chair in the middle of the room, and he was lost. I remember for my book, when I was talking, there was this Puneet Bisht, his partner, who got 100 that day. He said that he was in a different zone. He was not there at the ground. He was there at the ground, and yet he was not there. He was getting those runs, but obviously he was thinking about his father. Yes, it was one unforgettable day for me. And I remember there's one picture which is there in the book, taken by my young colleague S. Subramaniam. It's a fantastic covered square drive. He has captured the essence of the stroke, and you can and the expression on Virat's face. It's so very clear. He's so committed to playing that shot, and of course his innings, which saved Delhi from follow-on and probably launched Virat Kohli as the cricketer to admire and watch in the world of cricket.
What a beautiful story, sir. It speaks so much of the volumes of mental strength that Kohli has gone on to show to the entire world over the last decade or so. And as you said, that it was the beginning of the Kohli story, and quite a beautiful story to begin that brilliant career. Alright, with that we come to the end of yet another episode of this podcast called Random Cricket Photos that make our guests happy. A big thank you to Vijay sir. It was an absolute pleasure hosting you on this podcast and hearing so many wonderful stories of the game.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you very much. And you've been very kind. And once again, thank you very, very much for having me on this wonderful show. It's a very unique idea you have started, and you should speak to. This series should go on and on, because you'll come across more wonderful stories from different people.
And for those who love stories of the game, we have this Facebook page called Random Cricket Photos that make me happy. And out there, every day there is a picture posted which has a story that is being told through that picture. And you can check it out on Facebook. You can also find it on Twitter as well as Instagram. And thank you so much for listening in. Love cricket. Stay happy.